Hi, everyone. My name is Julia,
And I'm Katie.
and we're the hosts of the Runways and Byways travel podcast. We're doing something a little different today. We're actually going to be talking about moving across country or to a different state. So, this is a little bit of a different topic. I've moved across country, and Katie was considering moving across country at one point. So, we're going to talk about how you decide how to do that and whether how you choose a destination and whether you think it's right for you, stuff like that. So, Katie, anything to say about that?
I'm really excited about today's episode because this topic has been on my heart for like 2 years. Honestly, I've always wanted to move away, and then it didn't end up happening, which is interesting. But it's definitely something that I extensively was looking into. And I know for you, it's something that you actually did. And I'm so curious to know the nitty-gritty details about your move and why and how you feel about it. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, for me, it's actually the complete opposite because I never wanted to move away. So it's a completely different perspective than what you're having. So I think it'll be good for our listeners to kind of hear both sides.
Yeah, we literally have the exact opposite life, which I think is like pretty interesting.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Not
So
like complete opposite life, but just like different,
different wants.
journeys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I mean,
wants. Yeah,
I feel
definitely.
like our journeys are kind of coming to a similar place right now, just in different parts of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like different parts of the world. And then I thought I'd be over there. You thought you'd be here. It's so interesting how like things end up. It's truly what you least expect is kind of what you get. It's interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like this is almost an important podcast to listen to, even if you're not planning on moving, because it could happen. I mean, I was never planning on moving, and here I am.
And I was never planning on staying, and here I am. Like if I literally was telling my boyfriend today, I was like, 1 year ago today, I was going on my solo trip, which I'll get into today, to figure out where I was going to move. And I just felt so sure about it. And then it's just crazy how my life is so different now. But it both ideas were great, but it's just so different.
That was a year ago today. Oh, it was your
Yes, that was my trip to, well, I'll get into it in the podcast, but that was my trip to the different places that I wanted to move to. That was
wow.
1 year ago. That was during Passover break. Yeah.
Feels like longer than that. I don't know why.
It's crazy. I mean, for me, it feels like a year. It's just
I
insane.
guess
I
time
wish I
seems
could
to
talk to
drag down
myself.
here.
Time seems to, I mean, you don't have 4 seasons, so,
Yeah, it's always summer. It's like
which is
90 degrees
crazy.
here today. It's probably like 20
Wow.
by you.
It's like
Yeah.
30, yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll jump into all that in a little bit. Are we ready for the trivia question, or do you have anything else to say?
No, I'm excited for the trivia question.
Okay, let me pull it up. I just had it up. Okay. Which country has the most national parks?
I did see our great national parks hosted by Barack Obama.
As did I.
So we saw it together.
Oh, yeah, we did? All right.
I showed it to you.
I just remember seeing it. I don't remember you being there.
Right. So I know for sure they talked about Chile, they talked about America, they talked about, I think there was a place in Africa.
Oh, yeah. I do remember Obama mentioning that.
Yeah. So it's hard to say. I think it also did Hawaii as well. So it's really hard to say because there's just they talked about so many. It has to be one of them.
It could be. It could not be.
You know what? I don't know. I literally have no idea. I'm just gonna say Chile because oh wait, I'm not supposed to say the answer yet.
Yeah, you have
So let
time.
me think about it.
Yeah,
Let me not jump to Chile, but
you have plenty of time.
okay, plenty of time.
Plenty of time. Time is on your side.
That's a good question.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually thought of it because I'm learning about national parks in one of the classes I'm taking for my master's program. And I was like, I wonder if other countries, because I kind of knew that other countries had national parks, but I didn't really know exactly like what they designated them as or whatever. So I looked up which country has the most national parks. And I think, yeah, I'm not going to tell you anything about it more than that, but it was interesting to find out.
Very
That's all.
interesting.
Yeah,
I know it can't be America because I feel like that would be such a boring answer, but you know what? I could be wrong.
it would be, but sometimes you got to throw a curveball.
That's true.
America's not a boring country. There's a
No,
lot of
it's
people
not,
that
but it's
want
a
to go to
boring
America.
answer.
Yeah.
No, but like if the trivia questions are all going to be America, it's like,
I don't think a single one has been America, Katie.
and there's a reason.
Not a single one.
And there was a big reason.
Yeah, I guess so, 'cause it's boring.
Yeah, we have to keep it, diverse.
Keep people on their feet.
Yes, that's
I
true.
still think it would be diverse though if we had America as an answer because we've never had it.
Okay, now you're using like reverse psychology on
I
me.
am, and it's
Now I
working.
know it's not America.
I don't know. I mean, I do know, but
Hmm. I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna mull it over.
yeah, you could think. You don't have to say anything now. You could,
All right.
but
All right.
all right. So let's jump right into it. Katie, I know
Yay.
you've had a lot on your mind about this. Did you want to start things off, or do you want me to jump into my experience, or how should we do
Well,
this?
you're the one who moved first, so I feel like you should start first.
Okay, so should I talk about my whole moving experience?
Yeah, kind of state what you were doing in your life, what your life was looking like, and then what kind of led up to the move.
Okay. So I remember my boyfriend at the time, husband now, it was at the time of COVID and he was having a difficult time finding a job in New York. And so he wound up finding one in Florida. And he told me he was moving to Florida and I was kind of like, oh, okay. And so then I was kind of left with a choice. It was either like end the relationship or follow him to Florida. And I didn't want to end a relationship. So I decided to move to Florida, try it out. And so he wound up coming down here first. He was here, I'd say about a year before me, maybe. I don't know exactly, but I think about a year before me. And then I wound up coming in September 2021. And at that point in my life, I had a stable job. I mean, it was COVID, so I was at home and it was just kind of depressing. But overall, I liked living in New York. I'm just a New Yorker at heart. That's just who I am. And so I never wanted to move. And I loved being by my family and my friends. And I think it was kind of hard being ripped away from that in a way, even though I did kind of see it coming. It was never really what I wanted for my life. I never really had that drive to move somewhere else. And especially because it was so far, like it wasn't just like upstate New York a little bit, it was completely across the country pretty much. So I think that that was a lot for me and it still is a lot for me. I'm starting to make friends here. I know it's been a while, but I work remote and I do all the blog stuff remote too. So it's been difficult to meet people. But I'm starting to. I think it's just very difficult when you move somewhere and you don't know anyone. It's just starting fresh basically.
Yeah. So when you first moved down there, what was your initial thoughts, feelings, like that first, I don't know, week to month? What were you thinking when you first moved?
Quite honestly, I don't really remember. I think I honestly don't remember what I was thinking at the time of moving. I remember driving down to Florida. I was a little upset. Like I had my favorite stuffed animal with me in the front seat and
Aw.
I was hugging him and I was just like, I don't know. I was upset when my family dropped me off and left me. And it didn't really hit me, I think. I think the reason I'm not really remembering what I was feeling at the time was because I don't think I was feeling anything. I think I was just kind of numb.
Mm,
And then slowly I started realizing, like, okay, I don't like this. But
yeah.
yeah, I think in the beginning I was just kind of numb to it. I was just like, okay, vacation almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you were here, right, you had a job. Then when you moved to Florida, how did that what was that transition like in terms of jobs?
I worked remote for a few months. I think I worked remote until December or January. And then I wound up quitting and they told me I could stay till May and then they'd find someone else. But I just figured I need to get my master's anyway. I could move on. I could meet people down here. And so I figured fresh start, which hasn't entirely worked out for me yet. I'm slowly meeting people, like I said, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a really slow process. I haven't found a job down here yet either. I'm still working my other remote job, that my freelance job, and I'm doing the blog stuff. So I haven't really had a chance to find a job in Florida yet.
Mm-hmm. What do you think are your steps moving forward in Florida?
Moving forward, I definitely want to start branching out a little more. I've considered joining a Bumble BFF to meet people down here I've heard of that. I know some people that have done it and have met people. I've heard good things. I've also heard bad things. So I don't know. I think everyone has their own experience. But moving to a place so far away, moving cross country, even moving to another state, I think you need to do things like that sometimes to meet people. You can't just coop yourself up like I've been doing for so long. And I finally
Mm,
did start meeting people. But I mean, and I like the feeling of meeting people and going out. And I think it's really important when you're moving somewhere to have that support system.
hmm. Yeah, that's really interesting. You bring up a good point. When you move, you're kind of alone. I mean, you have your husband, but in life, you really need all different types of socialization. So that's really good that you're starting to make new friends, do new things. Have you been on Bumble BFF, or are you just like considering it?
I made an account, but I never really made it public. I filled out a couple things, I put a couple pictures, and then I was like, what am I doing? I don't know, like, is this weird? And so I never really put it up, and I never like swiped on anyone. I never did any of that because I just
Hmm.
panicked. But I did join a social group. I haven't gone to any of their events, but I did join one. If you go on the app Meetup, if you happen to ever move, the app Meetup is great. They have groups in your area, wherever you're moving to, that you can meet up with like-minded people. They have all different types of groups. So I just joined
Mm,
a social group for people that are like between the ages of 20 and 29 or something. So
right.
they have that. They have a lot of events. They have like 2 events a week that you can go to. I just haven't been because I've been so busy. But also that might just be an excuse because I'm scared. It's
Yeah,
scary meeting people in a new place. You just gotta get out of your shell, I guess.
definitely. Yeah. So, what do you think is the biggest difference between living in New York, where you're originally from, and now living here in Florida? What are some major differences?
I think the thing that's been affecting me the most is not having my support system and not being able to just be like, oh, I'm running over to this person's house. Oh, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm gonna go see my
Hmm.
mom now. I don't have any of that anymore, which does really upset me. But it also has strengthened relationships because I talk to my family a lot more than I did back home when I was just like, oh, get away from me. You're always on my back. But like now it's like I do have nicer conversations with them, I guess, because I don't really see them. And same
Mm,
with friends. Like I talk to you a lot more often just because I don't see you as often. And so
hmm.
I think it really shows you the relationships that are important in your life. The ones that are important to you are going to grow, and
Hmm.
the ones that weren't will fizzle out. I guess it just shows you the ones that really mattered. But I mean, other differences besides not really having my support system, the weather. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
And I think it's just a very different atmosphere because I'm in Orlando, and it's just there's a lot of fun things going on around me. It's a touristy place, but
Hmm.
back home in New York, it wasn't like that. It was just like typical suburban area, just some stores. But here, there's a lot of cute little towns to go to. There's a lot of theme parks. There's a lot of things geared towards making people happy, I guess.
Yeah,
So
that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, that is one big difference I noticed. And I think quality of life, I probably would say here would be better. They just have a lot of
Hmm.
things that make people happier, a lot more parks and things to get you outside and be happy. But at the same time, the support system thing for me is a big thing. And because I don't have that, it kind of just brings everything down for me.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you move, you don't think about so many of these different types of things that affect you, like support system and friends and all this stuff. You're just like, I want to go here, but then there's so many other aspects and like layers to it.
Yeah, I really do think that you need to stay somewhere for a little bit, and not as a vacation, like as if you're moving there, just to see if you like it. Because actually, one of the friends I've made down here, she was saying that she was considering moving to Colorado because all her friends moved there, and she had been there a few times and thought it was really cool. So she wound up
Mm,
staying there for 3 weeks. And she said she hated the way of life there after staying there for 3 weeks. She was like, how does anyone live here? So I
mm,
think it might seem nice upon like first visit and seeing like, wow, this is really cool. I wish I could live here. But I think a vacation is very different than than living somewhere. I think when you choose a destination to move to, you really need to say, like, can I actually see myself living here versus vacationing here? Do I like the quality of life? Do I like the people? Do I like the things around me? The lifestyle?
Hmm.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. I also feel like sometimes it does take a little bit of time to get accustomed to a place. Like maybe if you stayed for 3 weeks, it's longer than a vacation, but at the same time, you're not really going out, socializing, you're not, day to day work. Like I think sometimes it does take a little bit of getting used to. I mean, even you with your situation, it's taken a year and or even more than a year, and you're still kind of like, okay, jumping in. But who knows? Maybe you stay for another couple of years and you're like, this is the best decision I've ever made. So I feel like it's a tricky situation to really know for sure what feels best for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. And I mean, I know
Mm,
a lot of people aren't believers in that, but I've always been. So I like to think that I'm here for a purpose. And
yeah.
maybe it was just to show me how to live on my own or live in a different place because, I mean, I have lived in another place. I've lived in Europe doing study abroad and whatnot, but
Hmm.
I think this is a different experience that I'm away from my family for so much longer and I'm with a partner. So it's a very different experience. And I think maybe it's just something I needed. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm here for a reason.
Yeah. So do you think you have any really good tips, advice for somebody who is in a similar situation to you? Their partner's traveling across country, they're kind of hesitant, they're nervous. What advice do you have for those people?
I mean, I really do think it should be a decision on both people's part. I think you should really try to have a conversation with your partner. And I think that was my mistake is that I didn't really try to have a conversation with him. I was just like, okay, I go or we break up. Like I didn't express to him how I felt about going. And I think that's really important. So if your partner wants to move, I think you really need to sit down and say, do I want to move? Maybe I should try it out first, visit this place with the person,
Hmm.
see if I like this place, and what do I have here? What would I have there? I think that's really important to see how you feel about moving because I think that's
Hmm.
something I didn't do. In my head, it was just stay with him or don't stay with him. It wasn't really like maybe let's compromise, let's see. So I think that's really important to just be open with your partner about moving across country because it's a big thing, or even just to a different state. It's still a big thing. You're basically leaving your life behind.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think that makes a lot of sense
Yeah,
to communicate and then kind of go from there. And it's both people in it together. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. And I think you should when once you get there, you should assess is this place working for me? And like just check up with each other. And
Hmm.
even if you're moving by yourself, I mean, you should still check up with yourself and don't push it. Don't feel like you're like you failed by moving somewhere and you're not liking it, you could like it over time, but also check up with yourself, say what's bothering me, how can I fix it, and just be mindful when you're there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, thank you.
Love that. That's good. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about your move? Just emotionally.
Emotionally, I'm still going through a lot. I'd
Mm,
honestly, I've gotten a little better, but it kind of comes in waves. I'd say like a 4.
okay.
Yeah, it's still not great. And I'd really like it to be great. I just think going into the move, I did a lot of things wrong that I should have. I really should have spoken to him about the move, and I should have. And coming down here, I do, even though I did need to get my master's online and work online, I do feel like I should have branched out a little more because now I'm just kind of stuck in this like hole where I'm like, I don't want to go out. I'm like shy now because I've been
Mm,
isolating myself from all the people around me. And
mhm.
there's so many people to meet down here, and I'm just like scared to at this point because I've been so in my shell.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really important to put yourself out there when you move somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. It's good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have any other things to add about your experience or?
I don't think so. I think just really try, like I said, I know I keep just, I I keep saying this, but you really need to just put yourself out there, make yourself uncomfortable, put yourself into
Mm,
experiences. And that's really something I need to work on myself. And I think I would like Florida so much better if I did that. I think that's something everyone should do, whether you're
mm.
going alone or with a partner. Just put yourself out there to really learn about your environment and the people around you.
That's good. And it's
Yeah.
not too late. I mean, you know, in the grand scheme of life, you're still in early days in Florida. Still, there's still so much to, you know, look forward to, so many new experiences to have. So I'm sure, you know, it'll improve.
It's not too late. I just wish I knew these things earlier. I wish someone, people did say it to me, but I just didn't listen.
You
I
had to realize it for yourself to really believe it.
I think I did. I needed to experience this for myself and say like, okay, now I see why they were saying all these things. Like
Yeah,
friends are not going to come to you. Experiences are not just going to come to you. You have to make that place what you want it to be.
definitely.
I
That's
do
really
think you could
good.
move anywhere and be happy as long as you put in the effort to make it what you want it to be.
That's true. So it's almost like it's more about your inward life kind of almost than where you are externally.
Yeah, I do think because there's friends everywhere for people. You can make friends anywhere. You could I you can have a good job anywhere. It's really just your mindset
Mm-hmm.
and putting yourself
Definitely.
out there and meeting people. Yeah, I don't think Florida is really the problem with me. I think me is the problem with me.
Right.
Hmm.
Wow, this is so reflective.
Yeah, it is. I still want
Yeah.
to move, but
Yeah. Wait, you still want to move?
I still want to move back home. But
Oh, yeah, yeah.
but I do see the errors in my ways.
Yeah.
So I think that's enough about my journey. Katie, do we want to talk about your journey now and why you wanted to move across country?
Yeah, sure. I'm ready to get into it. I feel like I haven't spoken about this in intense detail.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to me, but not on
Yes.
this podcast, I don't think really at all.
Yeah, and not really to too many other people. I feel like I just kind of am doing the things, but I feel like I don't really explain myself to anybody. So this should be fun.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to explain yourself to anybody,
Exactly,
really.
but except to the podcast. Yeah.
Yes, except to the podcast. They need to know.
They need to know.
Okay, so what made you want to move?
Oh my goodness. I have always wanted to move out of New York because, I mean, there's a few different reasons. I think just the overarching reason is I just feel like my values are very different than traditional New York. I live in Queens, and I mean, I loved my upbringing. I loved meeting all different kinds of people. I think it was such a great place to grow up, 10 out of 10. But I just kind of felt for my life, my values were very much, I'm very like, I believe in God. So I don't want to say I'm like very religious, but I'm very like into God. Um, which, you know, Queens is very diverse, but I feel like for the most part, it's not their main thing. So I'm very into that. I'm very into family. I'm very into settling down. So just that kind of thing. I know they have that here, but I kind of felt like I wanted to be in more of like a small town, chill, casual. I wanted to be able to like hike and do things with my husband one day. I just felt being in Queens, it's very congested. There's a lot of stress. It's very quick pace. And I just wanted to kind of slow it down, live a really chill life. Yeah, so I kind of always felt different. And I was getting to a point where I'm starting to make money in my job. This is a couple of years ago. And I was like, okay, where do I want to live? And just the thought of living in an apartment by myself in Queens was just horrible. I was like, I don't want to live in Astoria. I don't want to live in Bayside. Like nowhere in Queens or the city did I want to live. And I wasn't dating anybody. So I was like, I can't just move in a house here, even though that probably would have been, nice just to have somebody. So I really started to think, I think I'm actually going to have to move somewhere else to kind of live on my own there and enjoy myself, and then hopefully meet somebody and have that life. And even if I don't meet anybody, at least I'll be around hopefully like-minded people, do things that excite me. Because I kind of felt at this time that Queens, Long Island, everything around me just wasn't exciting me anymore, just me
Hmm.
for me. So that's kind of where it started. And then it kind of really started rolling last year.
That does make sense, a lot of what you said. I do resonate with a lot of that
Hmm.
because I can agree with you on New York being very like fast-paced and stressful, and it's not about family almost. New York is very like work goal oriented. Meanwhile, I
Exactly.
noticed down here it's more like family quality of life oriented. It's a very different way of life down here versus in New York. It's
Mhm.
just like work, work, work. And here it's like, oh, let's go to Disney. So I think it's
Yeah.
really I do see that difference. And I do agree with you on that, that I do like that aspect of down here better than in New York. I really think I just miss New York because of the relationships that I've made there. And
Hmm.
but I think you're totally right about the way of life that it suits me. And I think most people would agree that I think just a happier quality of life is better than just the stressful, fast pace.
Exactly, for
Yeah.
sure. And I just could not picture a future by myself here. I was like, I don't know where I want to go. I don't know what I want to do. I have no vision. And I was on dating apps and dating, and I just felt like all the guys were just so city minded. None of them wanted to settle down. They're all about, oh, I just want to hustle, make money. Like, I don't want to be exclusive. I want to go here, go there, like go to the bars and do hookah and this and that. And I'm like, I'm so confused because that's not at all what I want. And so I was kind of like, okay, I guess I'm just going to be single forever. So that also contributed to it as well. I just feel like I had nobody that had similar values to me. And I felt like guys in Florida, or, I mean, well, I didn't get into that yet, but I was kind of thinking, down south, I feel like they'd be a little bit more similar in terms of, goals, what we want for our futures would be a little bit more like-minded.
Hmm. Yeah, because people are just raised differently in different parts of the country. And I think
Right.
down here, people just get married earlier. So, but if they're like our age, like 26, and they're not married, it's like, oh my God, I gotta find a girl. So I
Yeah.
think, meanwhile, in New York, if you're 26 and not married, it's completely normal. And it's actually like, are you sure you want to get married now? It's kind of early. So,
Yeah, and I feel that, and I was just always told by so many people, you never want marriage. Don't even think about that. Focus on your career. Like men are trash, this, that, the other. But I always knew in my heart and believed that I didn't want that for myself, and I was just so conflicted. Like I feel like sometimes people grow up with the opposite thing that they're told for me, where it's like you have to get married, and you have to have kids, and they feel this pressure. I felt the complete opposite. Was like I want to get married, I want to have kids, but I felt this pressure to be so hyper independent. So it's just interesting the way I grew up. I just feel like it's so different than people who, are so opposed to marriage and kids because they had the opposite.
'cause
It's
that's just
interesting.
the New York state of mind, you just
Yeah.
you don't I mean you do get married, but it's like it's not your priority really.
Yeah. And I feel like even some like the attitude about marriage is kind of like, I guess I'll get married. It's not like they value it so dearly. It's like such a deep thing on their heart. I don't know. It's just a different sense of priority that I felt from people. So that was kind of why like I just felt like this wasn't for me, this New York life.
Yeah, I feel like once you find, I mean, you can speak on this, but like once you find what you're looking for in the place that you are, like in New York, you found
Mhm.
Michael and you found what you were looking for. But I feel like until you find that, if you're not comfortable with the way of life there, it is very difficult to live there.
It's very intense. And for us, we grew up here, so I feel like we wouldn't notice it as much. But I know people who have moved here and they come here, they're like, oh my gosh, it's all hustle. It's so quick. It's this, it's that. And I just always thought that was normal. And so when
Mhm.
I heard that in other parts of the country, that no, it's slower, that's not really the norm, I was like, I have to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, it is very different. I'm still adjusting to that because I still have like the hustle in my head and I'm just like, why are you
Hmm.
guys not stressed?
Yeah. Why is nobody like hating themselves and like running around everywhere?
Yeah, why aren't you working? So
Yeah.
it's just a really different, it's a really different mindset that I still haven't fully adopted yet.
Yeah. Yeah, so from there it started this whole not spiral. I mean, it was a beautiful thing. I was really like, okay, I really need to sit down and think about where I want to go, which I think a lot of people in their 20s feel the way that I felt, where it was like, I don't know how to get from point A to point B. There's just so many options. So for me, I really had to sit down and ask, what are my values and what do I want out of a place? Okay, I want a slow life. I want things for me to do. I want balance. I want this, I want that. And then from there, from my values, I kind of narrowed it down to what place do I think most aligns with those values, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and for me, I was like, it just has to be Southern United States. But then I was also like, but there's just still so many options in that. I could do Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, all these places. And it was very overwhelming. But I told myself, slow down, really think things through. Don't just move anywhere really quickly. You have time, you have support. So the first place I was considering was North Carolina because I felt like they were most closely aligned to my values. And I ended up doing actually no, before I did my solo trip, I did a trip with my friend Sarah, and we went to Charlotte, North Carolina, which was actually a really big disappointment. I thought it would be different than it was. It was very similar to New York, very city.
Hmm.
So that was really disappointing. And then the suburbs, which I thought were cute, you really can't live by yourself. You have to have a partner because you'd be getting a house. And the places you'd be single is the city. So that was really frustrating because I was kind of like, okay, I'm kind of back to square one. But I was like, let me try Raleigh. So I decided to book this solo trip to go to Raleigh, and then I was going to visit you in Florida. And I went all by myself to Raleigh, which I talked all about on my solo trip episode, where I talked about it. And it was the same situation as Charlotte, where it was really nice. The city was cute, but I was like, I don't see myself here because again, my value is, just more, I don't know, not a city. It was so city in Raleigh. And
Mhm.
like I said, the places outside of it, you really need a partner. You can't just buy a house like being 24. Like that's
Yeah. Was it
insane.
either like two city or two country?
Exactly. There was
Yeah.
no in between. There was no balance for me because I was like, I'm not moving with a partner. Otherwise, this would be so nice. I'm moving by myself. So this just doesn't make sense. And then I visited you, and we went to a place called Sanford, Florida, and just felt instantly in love. It was just everything I ever dreamed of. They had the most beautiful view of the ocean. They had a whole bunch of mom and pop shops with like a paved road. What is that called? Like
Like
a
cobblestone?
cobblestone. It
Yeah.
was just so beautiful. Everyone was so nice. They seemed very sweet, down to earth, not too city. I could easily get a beautiful apartment. In fact, we looked at apartments there, and I just found my dream apartment. And there was a whole view of the lake. And I just knew in my heart that this is where I wanted to be. So I was like, that's it. The search is done.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that. I can't believe that was
Yeah.
a year ago. Wow.
Yeah. It's coming up on a year, like next week.
Yeah, things have really changed since then. So
Yes.
I know, I guess you can give an update of where you are now, now that we know your moving situation. Now,
Yeah.
I guess we could see what
So,
happened.
yeah, so what ended up happening was I was totally ready to move that September, but Julia she had a few different events going on. And so I was like, you know what? I'm in no rush. I'll wait until the following year.
Oh, was it my fault?
No, well,
Hmm.
it's your fault that I'm living
Awkward.
my dream life. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I was like, you know what, I'm in no rush. Could I easily move down here and make it work and take a couple of flights out? Yes. But I was like, you know what, let's live one last great year in New York. Let me really spend time with my friends, spend time with my family, no rush. Let me get some more money to really be able to feel comfortable going down there. And I felt good about that. And so I was like, the following year, which would have been next September, like this September coming up, 2023, I would have been moving down there. But what happens when you plan, God laughs.
God
And
laughs.
so I was totally set on going to Florida. I was telling everybody about it. I was so excited. And I truly, truly felt it in my heart. Like, I'm pretty sure I cried when I realized that was the place.
I think you did.
I did. I was so happy. And then I ended up meeting somebody, as you do when you don't want to meet anybody.
Yeah, that's what happened with me and my husband too. We just
Yeah,
met on a day where I was saying I'm never going to meet anybody. I said that an hour
yeah.
before I met him. Yeah,
So crazy.
sneaks up on you.
God literally just loves to play jokes. He loves to make you so excited about something or like so like this is the way my life's gonna be. And then in literally 5 minutes, it's just nope, that's not your life anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
I
mean,
met,
you all know Michael.
yes, you met Michael who's on the podcast, my boyfriend. So it was just so random. I was invited to a birthday party in November and he was there. And from the moment I met him, I was like, I have just felt this intense calm, intense peace. I've loved talking to him every single date that we go on. I just like fall more and more in love with him. And it's just crazy. Like, I don't know how it never crossed my brain. He's Jewish. He's like modern Orthodox, but he doesn't practice fully. He's kind of like me. Like he loves God and he loves his background, but he's also very open to it. It's a little bit more fluid. So me and him just align on so many things, even though we come from completely different cultures. Like we're so set on, marriage, kids, just having that stable life, that slow lifestyle that I wanted in Florida. And it's just crazy how, I mean, it's kind of like what you were saying before, how it's all your mindset, it's in your heart if you're going to enjoy a place or not. And I feel like he makes me see New York in this crazy brand new light. Like we'll go out on dates and I'm like, I've literally been to the same place so many times, but with him, it's so magical and so new and just, it's literally how it would be like if I went to Florida. And I remember it was about a month into dating that I was officially like, this is my guy, like this is it. And I cried. I cried so hard. I remember I cried to Marie because I was like, I'm not going to Florida. Like I can't. And I just sobbed because that was my old dream. And I knew the dream was going to be so much better with him. And it is. But
Hmm.
that was also a dream that I, in my heart, wanted so bad. And it's just like crazy. And now I'm like, okay with it. But yeah. So I feel like our experiences were definitely really different,
Oh,
but I
complete
guess
opposite.
like
Yeah.
similar just in terms of unexpected because you totally never expected to move to Florida and I totally never expected to live here, which by the way, by the time you're listening to this, because it'll be tomorrow, tomorrow is the day that we officially have the house.
Tomorrow's the day. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
she's going in the morning to sign the paperwork, and then by the evening, the house will be ours when we're
Oh,
going to
that's
Savannah,
so
Georgia.
exciting.
Yeah. So, and then I'll officially be living there this summer. So it's just crazy now I'm living in a house in Long Island with like the person who I know I'm going to be with forever and who just like we align so well. It's just like
Yeah,
I
you
would
never
never
saw
have
that
imagined
coming.
it. No,
Yeah. Yeah, so
like not at all.
it's really not about the place you're moving, it's about what you surround yourself with.
Yeah,
And
I totally agree with that.
how do you feel now about moving? If someone were to say, Katie, you and Michael could move to Florida right now, what would you do?
Honestly, I'd be like maybe later
Uh-huh.
because I think this year I've learned, and just kind of like what you were saying before, I've learned that it would be so nice to have that support. And like you said, just like call up a friend and be like, hey, I'm coming over now. And just to have like, I feel like I don't have so many friends, but I have like a decent amount of like friendships that I could kind of still like branch out a little bit, call up Marie, call up my cousins, call up my family.
Hmm.
I do want to have kids one day and it'd just be nice to have that support. So honestly, I feel like this for me is just my dream life. I mean, we have talked about, he did say like, one day I would love to move to Florida because, of all the reasons that we said before.
Hmm.
And so I think one day if that makes sense, we would do it. But I just feel like at this point in my life, I'm actually really happy that it worked out this way. It's just crazy. It worked out this way. It's like God, what is the quote? It's like is God's better is better than your better or
I've
something. I
never
don't know,
heard that actually.
something like that. Like his plan is bigger and better than the plan that you have for yourself. Like he knows more. He knows all of the different connections. He knows what you really need, even if you think you do, and whether you believe in God or not, it's like I'm sure you've had that happen to you where when you let go, you realize that, oh wow, I thought it was this way, but actually this way is a million times better. Like
Mm.
thanks for whatever's out there or anything for not giving me what I thought that I wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I truly don't know what he was thinking with me. I guess maybe it just wasn't my time to see the good in this yet, because I am
Mm-hmm.
still I really have to sit down and like really think to find the good in the situation that I'm in right now. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I'd like to believe what you're saying, that this is part of the bigger plan.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, for me, it was a lot of anxiety. Like before I did my trips, I always had this feeling in my heart where I was just like, you need to sit down and think about where you want to go because it's not here. And if I did not decide to move to Florida, I would never have stayed at my school now and I would never have met Michael.
Mm.
So it really was like if I did not plan on like moving to Florida, my life would not have happened this way. So I think it's really important to just listen to that inner voice inside of you, your subconscious, your intuition, God, whatever you want to call it. And I feel like that really does lead you to a certain place.
Yeah, I think sometimes moving can be the answer, but it's not always the answer. I think
Yeah.
you just really need to address all your options.
Yeah, for sure. Because there's just could be so many different answers. And sometimes moving is the answer, you know, but sometimes maybe there's a different underlying issue.
Yeah, I mean, I know so many people down here that have moved here and are having the time of their lives.
Yeah.
And I mean, me, not so much. Maybe it's in the cards for me, maybe it's not. But I think moving is a different experience for everybody. And you can't really look at my experience or Key's experience and say, okay, this is why I should do it because everyone has their own
Hmm.
journey. And I think it's important for you to sit down and see what each destination offers for you and your life
Yeah.
and your future.
Yeah. And I also think it's really important to listen to your own intuition always. You know, I think you can get advice from people, but at the end of the day, it's your life. You're the one who's going to be moving or staying or doing whatever you need to do. Nobody else is 24/7 in your body. So I think it's important, like I said, to take people's advice into account. But at the end of the day, like you need to make your own decision and you know yourself best and what you're capable of. So I think that's really important too.
Yeah, especially friends and family. I know they do have good intentions in the end, but they
Hmm.
can be a little selfish, you know? Like those
Yeah.
they could be like, stay in New York because I want you here. You know, it's not really stay in New York because this is good for you. It's stay in New York because I'll miss you. So you need to really think
Yeah.
of what's good for you
That
and
was
not,
totally my case. My
yeah.
friends and my mom and everybody wouldn't even talk about it with me. Like I was so excited to move to Florida. I knew that was the right decision, which it was at the time. And I have no regrets, obviously. Like that was 100% the right decision. But I feel like everybody else in my life was like, okay, like nobody else really cared about me moving. And I was like, what? And you know, it is because they would be hurt to see me go, like, you know, my parents and my friends and all that stuff. So I think that you can't take like if I would have taken that to account, I would have been like, okay, I guess I won't move because nobody cares or they want me to stay or this or that. But I mean, like I said, for a second, I don't regret any of my thought process, any of my decisions.
Because it's all led
And I
you to
think
where
that's
you are now.
important, which is, yeah, which I'm
Yeah.
like so like still shocked. Like I was on the phone with Michael. I'm like, how are we getting a house tomorrow? Like that's like I would never have pictured that for a million years. So
I wouldn't have
it's
either. If you
crazy.
told me that like a year ago today, if you told me that in a year you'd have a house with a guy, I'd tell you you're out of your mind. I'd check you into the nearest mental institution. Like
No, me
I'd be
too. I
like,
would have been like,
Katie, you're
no, you're
like,
not.
yeah. I'd be like, what's wrong with you?
I was
Delusional.
like, yeah, I would have been like, Katie, you're delusional. And then like I just wouldn't have believed it. But it's just crazy what a year can do. I mean,
Yeah.
even think about a year from now, like I don't know what's gonna happen. My life could look completely different. It's just
Yeah.
it's exciting, you know. I feel like some people view it as scary, which it can be, but it could also just be like a fun ride and you just gotta ride the wave and know that whatever is the outcome, it's gonna be the outcome.
Yeah. I think I need to take that advice and just roll with it, see where it takes me and try to find the good in it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
for
had
sure.
a lot of good advice and I hope the advice that we've given you on this podcast helps you to narrow down whether you should be moving or shouldn't be moving or where you should be moving. And just it's a
Yeah,
lot to consider. It's a lot to think about. And especially moves across the country or to a different state. It's a really big change. So I hope we
definitely.
helped you to figure out your mindset.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that I want to say everybody is going through, honestly. Like I know people who even want to stay in Queens, but even the thought of moving from their house to an apartment or whatever, it's such a stressful thing that I think everybody can relate or has related or will relate. It's just such a topic that it's part of the human experience, just moving on with life.
Yeah, even if the destination's not that far, I think just moving and going to a different community is scary and potentially even not like Donato's mom was telling me she moved from one town to another, but she moved to a very
Mm,
tight-knit community and she was having a hard time fitting in with the people there and getting to know because it's a very different place. Every place you move to will be different experiences, different people, and it could take
yeah.
some time, whether it's across the country or if it's two towns over. It's a lot to consider.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good point. Like even just 15 minutes away can be such a huge change, especially when you're living out of the house that like you were raised in, all this stuff. It could still be, I'm sure I'll still be clinging on to some sort of bear. I don't have a bear, but like metaphorical bear that you
Yeah,
were as well.
it was actually a crane. It wasn't a bear, but
Oh, sorry, crane.
yeah, awkward.
That's cute.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's really cute.
Yeah. Any
Yeah,
any last things?
I think we covered everything. Just, yeah, really be in touch with yourself and know that y you'll find what you're looking for wherever you are if you have the right mindset.
I completely agree.
Yeah, any destination can be your destination if you want it to be.
Home is where the heart is.
It's true. Nice way to end it, Katie. That about
Thanks.
sums it up. We could have
That's
just said
it.
that.
That could have been an email.
Yeah, that could have been the whole podcast. Thanks for spending an hour. What could have been, yeah, it could have been an email.
Oh my gosh. All
All
right.
right.
I'm ready for the trivia question. I'm a little nervous though.
Okay. So the question to repeat was this country has the most national parks. Bonus points if you can guess how many national parks.
You know what? Changing my answer to United States, and I'm gonna go with 9. No, it could be 9.
I think there's more than nine.
Let's go with 200.
Okay. No. So the answer, do you want to like guess again or do you want me to tell you?
Can you give me a hint? I already didn't get the point, so it's fine.
Okay, it's another big country, if you will. It's like
Brazil,
you've heard of this country. No,
Russia,
no,
South Africa.
no,
Can you give me a continent?
no,
No.
no, because the continent is the answer. So I basically just gave it to you. Yeah,
Australia. I would
yeah.
never for a million years have gotten Australia. I don't think that was in the documentary.
I don't think it was. Obama, I think you need to revisit this.
Yeah, like that's if that's the most national parks, how is that not in the national parks documentary?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm qualified to tell Obama how to do his job, but I don't,
But
yeah,
he
but
needs to be told.
yeah,
Yeah.
do better.
His job as a documentary person, not a
Yeah,
president.
yeah, I think. I mean, I'm sorry, Obama, if you did cover Australia and we just weren't paying attention, then my
Yeah, if we're
apologies.
just being rude.
My apologies. But
Because he listens to this podcast. I mean, you never know.
he might,
Could be his guilty pleasure.
right? Runways and Byways travel podcast. I do
Oh my
think
gosh.
I mean, I don't know where he lives now, but I do think we have like a listener or a few listeners from DC when I was looking at
So maybe it
the
is
stats.
Obama.
Obama, if you're listening, hi, but also sorry, but
But also hi.
hope we didn't offend you, but also at the same time, hope we
I'm
did
sure he's
because
used to it. I'm
because you
sure he
need
has
to
thick
fix.
skin by now.
I know. Imagine this is what breaks him.
Oh my, he's like, not Julia and Katie from Runways and Byways.
I thought they were on my side.
All right, so Australia, that
Australia, yes.
makes sense, but it also threw me for a loop.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't expect it when it came up.
Mm.
Do you want to guess how many national parks they have?
Is it
I
less
mean,
than 200?
it is more than 200.
Oh,
Hmm.
my word. Is it 1,000?
It's less than 1,000.
800?
It's less than 800.
600?
Yes.
Exactly 600?
No, it says they have over 600.
Oh,
So it could be
wow.
1,000.
It's probably like 622.
Okay. It could be. I don't know. Do you want to
Interesting.
guess
It's a lot of national parks.
so it's a big difference between the country that has the most national parks, Australia, and the country that has the second most. They actually have a really big difference in the amount of national parks that they have. Do you want to take a swing at the second and how many they have?
Yeah. Is it Indonesia?
Um, no, but you're actually like kind of close, like ballpark.
Thailand?
Yes.
I don't know how I got
Yeah, I don't know how you got that either. So random.
that. Yeah, I literally don't know how I got that.
And do you want to guess how many they have? It's a big difference from Australia, I'll tell you that much.
332.
No, bigger of a difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
200.
Even bigger of a difference.
100.
A little less of a difference.
150.
147.
Okay, I was close.
Yeah. I figured you weren't gonna land on that exact number.
Wow. 600 national, like,
Yeah,
what?
so they,
I feel like the show's not even that big.
I mean, it must be big enough. I
It is
don't
very
know.
natury.
Yeah, it's definitely big enough to have 600. I don't know. That's what this says.
Wow.
But yeah, it's just such a huge difference between the first and second. I wonder how many the United States has. You want to guess?
Yes. Okay. Obviously it has to be less than 147. I'm gonna have to say it has about, and these are national parks too. Like that's a pretty big deal. I'm gonna say 91.
Okay, I'm gonna guess 74.
That's a good guess.
Thank you. Oh, wow. Wait, what? Oh, okay, okay. I saw some misleading information.
Oh,
There's like 423 like national whatnots, but I don't know. But officially there's 63 national parks
oh
in the
wow.
United States.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that 423 threw me off, but it's 63.
Mm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so not as many as you'd think. Yeah. I feel
Like
like
you
New
think,
York,
but I feel like
not
I
New
only
York.
hear a few of them.
I know. Well, there's like Yellowstone.
Yellowstone.
That's it. I think
That's
just
all I know.
Yellowstone.
I hear this more that I like. I'd be like, oh, I remember that name, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
No, I think that's it. Yellowstone. Yeah.
Okay, well, that was a really good question.
Yeah, thank you.
Brought up a
Hopefully.
lot of conversation.
Yeah, I learned a lot. Because I
Yes.
feel like when I think national parks, I always think the United States, but to think that they're not
Yeah.
like that they have 63 and Australia has 600 is just like, wow. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like we're
It's
nothing.
crazy. Yeah, that's insane. My
Yeah.
mind is blown.
Mind equals blown.
Ill.
That was really like a
That was
2013 throwback
cringe.
right
Yeah.
there.
I just imagine like a meme of like that, like it just I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
It gives
Just
me ick.
channeling eighth grade Julia.
Oh my yeah. Oh my
She's
gosh.
got to come out every once in a while.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, we addressed a lot today.
Yeah, I feel like we really got into our personal lives, which is always a good time.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't really done that yet and opened up about ourselves to all our listeners. We're probably just figureheads who travel a lot, but there's more to us. We're real people
Yeah, with real lives who, yeah,
and real
it's a lot.
feelings.
Real Yeah, it's we're more than just two-dimensional. This is our three-dimensional life.
Yeah, we're
Actually
going to show you that
four-dimensional.
we're people too.
Yes, we move.
We might be travel gods, but we're also real people with feelings and lives, and
Oh my God.
we're just like you.
I think that was the main summary for this episode. We're
Yeah,
just like you.
exactly. I think that maybe that's what we'll call the episode.
That's cute. I love that.
I'm not calling it that.
What are we calling it?
Um, I was thinking like moving cross country or moving something like that. Moving long
Mm,
distance, moving. I don't know.
just moving.
Moving.
Love it.
Yep. So I don't know. You'll know the title before we do.
That's true.
Yeah, because they'll be reading it right now.
Well, they should have already have read it if they clicked on it.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. Sometimes I don't like read them. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, that's a pretty thumbnail or whatever.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I need to like click on it. I need to go through the description. I need to read all about this person. I'm very meticulous.
Yeah, but like our listeners already know us. Like if they're like, oh, new episode, they might not be like, what's the title before
That's
like
true.
the real ones won't look at the title.
The real ones. You mean like our moms?
Mom, that means you. Don't you dare look at that title.
Shout out, yeah. Honestly, I feel like my mom probably doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if they're able to tell us the title by the end of listening to this episode, then we're done.
Good for you, yeah.
Over. Yeah.
We'll see if they even made it this far.
See if they even listen.
Yeah, they probably just listen to the first 2 minutes just to like support and then they're gone.
Yeah, I should quiz her.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, I'll be like, hey mom, remember the part where like I told your deepest, darkest secret to the whole world?
Oh my God. Uh, all
Throw her
right.
off a little bit. Yeah.
So anything else to add before we dip? Because I got a hot bowl of health waiting for me.
Gross. That is all.
That was also cringe. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was really good. That was like
That was
worse.
so cringe.
That was worse than my noodles blown. No, it wasn't, but it was close.
No, I agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
that was bad.
Yeah.
We're gonna stop doing that.
Okay.
We're gonna make a conscious effort to not be like that anymore.
Okay, I'll try.
Both of us, yeah. We
Yeah.
both do it. Anyways,
Anyway, so
I believe that's all. So any last words?
no, I enjoyed today. I forgot that we wanted to do this episode. I'm really glad that we did.
Yeah, I forgot too. We were just kind of going through our episode list and came across it and we were like, huh. And Katie was like, we have to do it. And I was like, we're not doing it. But I'm glad we did it because I got some feelings off my chest and I hope I helped you guys out and in
Yeah.
figuring out where you belong and whether you should be moving or shouldn't be moving or yeah, I hope we helped you.
Yeah, and it's been my 1 year anniversary of going on that trip, and I just feel like this is very symbolic of
Yeah,
that
very
growth and
poetic.
change. Very poetic.
Yeah, full circle.
Yes. Full circle moment
Yeah,
for
it
me.
really is. So it's a good thing
Yeah.
we did this today.
Yes, I agree.
All right, cool. So I guess I almost forgot about my whole speech at the end.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
And okay, so you can find us at www.runwaysandbyways.com. You can sign up for the budget travel planner, and it is a 30-page planner. It's completely free. You just give your name and email address, and you'll receive the planner. You'll also be enrolled in a newsletter, so you can get updates every single time I post a blog post or just any events that are going on, as well as the podcast notifications. We also have a form for that. It's a similar thing, name and email address, and you'll get notifications every single time we post a podcast. On the website also, we have travel planning services. We have Choose My Destination, where we'll help you choose a destination based on your travel preferences, travel recommendations. So you'll give us a place and we'll give you some recommendations based on what category you're looking for, whether it be activities or food. So we can help you out with that. We also give travel advice. So if you have a burning travel question, we'll give you some advice on that. That's all at runwaysandbyways.com. You could find us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Pinterest at Runways and Byways, or on Twitter at Runways and Byways. So that's an N rather than the word end. And we are on Spotify, Apple, Anchor, which is now Spotify Podcast. So same thing, whatever. YouTube and Google Podcasts. I'm still working on iHeartRadio. If you're listening, no, I'm watching you. That's all.
That was great. That was a good spiel.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the best.
Yeah, I would agree.
Thank you. Yeah, might as well just copy and paste that one into all of them.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, and that way iHeartRadio will always know that I'm watching them. I've never forgotten. I will never forget.
All right.
Yep. Okay. So we will see you next time on the 20th episode of the Runways and Byways Travel Podcast.
And we have a fun one planned for you. So
Yes,
stay tuned.
We do. Yes. We're not going to tell you what it is, but it's going to be
No.
very exciting. So we'll see you then. All right. Bye,
All right.
everyone.
Bye.
Whether your plane is taking off from the runway
or you're driving down a byway,
we'll be your guides
through it all.